Hello, everyone. I apologize that we're a little bit late for this. As I said, the technical isn't quite working as we would like. Adrian's here, so I'm not going to use up too much of your time, Adrian Cotterell. So, looking forward to what you're going to present about assessments in the age of AI.
Right, thank you so much, Angeline. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen. How are we looking? Let me just, there we go. I'm here. So let me get started. So I've got about 20, 30 minutes from now. I'll try to be a bit shorter because the conference is running over time now. But my name's Adrian. I'm an English and history teacher. I have been for over a decade, well over a decade. I was a school leader. But over the last 2 or 3 years, I've been helping schools and teachers across Australia respond to AI, specifically in their assessment design. So I'm going to go quickly through some principles and practices on how this can look like in the AI era. We can't keep doing what we've always done. That doesn't mean what we've been doing is bad, but it just means if we don't change what we're doing, kids are going to think less and less in our classrooms as teachers. And I know all teachers don't want that. That's not why we got into teaching, for our kids to just be brain dead and let a robot think for them. So, how can we move forward? My biggest point, I guess, that I want everyone um, get out of this session. It's this idea that verification, going into this AI era, verification is better than AI detection. This idea of treating AI generated content as the same as plagiarism is just going to be a waste of time as we move forward. Teachers and students and humans and all workers, when given the opportunity in the AI era, are going to use generative AI to help them be more productive and get things done. And so when students have the opportunity to use AI, and we give students unsupervised assessments like an essay outside of the classroom, they're going to use AI. We can't stop them. We can't figure out whether or not they've used it or not. But we just need to assume they've used it. And we then need to verify how much do they understand of the work they give us. So I'm going to talk you through this process really quickly today. I guess the key idea is this idea of layered assessment design. People are doing this without knowing that they're doing it. And the key is we kind of create an assignment and we want to put these kind of layers in place to make sure that the assignment is secure and brings kind of assessment validity. The idea that we're actually assessing what we think we are. But the problem with all these layers are there's lots of holes. There's lots of holes. Whenever we try to bring layers, kids can actually um, get through those layers and still cheat. And so some of the ways that we're trying to layer up our assessments, a lot of teachers across internationally, is that teachers are using these AI detectors, and a lot of teachers are trying to do document tracking. Now, the problem with these kind of first good responses, we've tried there's a big challenge that's come along, ChatGPT's come along, and then we get these are kind of potential solutions. The problem is they're terribly flawed. AI detectors are so problematic in the sense that they give false positives. A student has done everything right. They haven't necessarily just completely used AI to do all their work. And they get flagged as if their actual writing is AI detected or has AI content in it, and that's not good. It's not good for our vulnerable students. And the thing is the evidence is showing that the students who usually or get more flagged for AI use, like this kind of false positive idea, are students who are learning the language themselves. So in English, you're learning the English language, and then teachers are putting your work into AI detectors, there's more chance that your work's going to get flagged as AI, and that's not a good thing. The other thing, and so I just think we should just stay away from AI detectors. They're flawed. It's just a bad paradigm. There's lots to say about that. We don't have enough time. Document tracking is another one, kind of actually tracking a student's production of the text. Again, it's just so easy to get around if the students are doing it in an unsupervised environment. I have two screens here right now where I'm sitting. A student could easily just have ChatGPT on one window, have their tracked document on another, and a student can just copy ChatGPT or whatever the writing is from an AI model, and it looks like it's naturally created, but it's actually just AI. And what's we're just wasting a student's time. A student has become a scribe for a robot, which is not a good thing. So these two, unfortunately, when you're kind of looking at these layers, we're trying to put these layers, and no layer is perfect. When you're trying to put these layers to try to create assessment security, a kid is able to kind of get through with the kind of big holes and flaws in some of these layers. Kids can get through and still cheat. So we really need to find some layers that's just harder to cheat. I don't think any layer is cheat proof, but we just need to create layers that are harder. And so what I'm going to talk about today is I really think the viva voce, or kind of an oral defense at the end of the process, is one of the best layers to ensure that the student actually understands what they're talking about. So the paradigm shifts in the situation. Rather than trying to verify understanding by saying, "Hey, kid, did you produce what you've giving me? Did you write every single line?" Because that's what we used to do with plagiarism. When we feed something into a plagiarism checker, it checks whether or not this can be found somewhere else, or maybe this is original, maybe this is actually produced by the kid. But I think that's just the wrong way of seeing it as we move into the AI world, because everyone's going to be using AI generated content. When kids are given the opportunity, they just will. You can't stop them. They just will. So we need to then go and move into this paradigm. Can you explain what you have produced? Students may or may not have used AI in creating the essay that they've done for you outside of class. The key question then is, can you explain, student, you've gone through this process. You may have used AI actually productively in your learning, but can you actually explain what you've produced? If the AI has done all the thinking, then you probably can't explain what you've produced. There are probably concepts and ideas that are in that assignment that you have got no clue of because you didn't do the thinking. And so this is the key. We need to help our kids explain what they've produced. And this is going to be really helpful for future workers. As a future worker, I need to be able, if I use AI all the time in my work, but I got to make sure I understand what I'm doing. If I don't, then what's the point of me being in the loop? Maybe another human should be there, or maybe AI can just do the thing that I'm doing. So as humans, we've got to make sure we can understand and explain what we're doing, even when AI is involved. So this is us understanding of we need to verify, not try to detect. And so how does this work then? Because viva voce, for anyone who's a teacher, this idea of sitting down with each student in your class and kind of asking them questions about what they've written is that time that uses a lot of time. It's very hard to scale. My typical class size in Australia is it can go up to about 28, 30 in kind of the year 7, 8, 9, 10 class. Very big class, very hard. You've got 5 classes as a teacher, very hard to scale this pedagogy. So I'm going to show you something in a moment that really helps the teacher speed this process up. But really, to kind of change tunes quickly, to kind of lead into that, is I've been obsessed with this idea since ChatGPT came out. When ChatGPT came out, everyone is talking about how can AI do something for me? How can it make me more productive? How can it do my work so I can do something else more efficiently somewhere else? But as teachers and educators, I think we need to be obsessed with this idea that if AI is going to be involved, how can AI help me think more about what I'm learning? How can we help students when they use AI, help them actually think more about what we want them to learn, not less, because the default's less. If we keep doing what we've always done, students are just going to be thinking less and less and less in our classroom. So very early on, I had this idea of getting AI to be an expert in this idea of Socratic dialogue, that students, and then this is very old pedagogy. This is not new. The very old pedagogy. The pedagogy is rather than me as a teacher just teaching, 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 which I think is important still. But it's this idea of me as a teacher or a tutor, I'm actually going to ask questions of the student. I'm helping the student think through what they've already learned, find connections that they've never really kind of connected before, find gaps in my thinking that I'm not actually aware that they're there until I actually start talking through and having this dialogue about a particular topic. And so very quickly, I got ChatGPT to do this in my classroom with my students. In Australia, we were able to use ChatGPT in our classrooms very early. And so this is what I was doing with my students 2, 3 years ago. I got them to paste in a prompt like this, very simple prompt, this one. But acting as an expert in Socratic dialogue, assess my knowledge and understanding by asking me one question at a time about the causes of World War One. And so very quickly, this is kind of what a conversation like that looks like. A very simple prompt. This prompt is not very good, but it kind of helps you understand what we're talking about here. So instead of going to AI for the answer, you're actually going to AI, and the AI is asking you the question, and now you have to demonstrate what you know. So here's the AI's question: what do you believe was the most significant underlying cause of World War One, and why? Well, I just said the alliances across Europe. And but I didn't really say why. And so the AI is not very happy with that. The alliance system was indeed a significant factor, but let's probe deeper. How do you think the alliances turned a regional conflict into a full-scale war? So straight away now, I'm having to show more of my learning. It's adaptive. Based on what I give the AI is going to ask me something more of, probe deeper, go into this direction, maybe move into another direction. It's Socratic. The AI is asking the Socratic kind of very fluid, adaptive questioning style to make sure that I can actually understand what I'm talking about. So for free, I don't know how many people are here at the moment, but I guess on my website, my personal website, adriancotterell.com, I've got a whole bunch of prompts and a whole bunch of examples of how you can use Socratic dialogue in your classroom with a chatbot. So it doesn't have to be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini, it could be Copilot, it could be Claude. There's a whole bunch of chatbots you could, in your context, what you're allowed to use with students. But the idea is you don't go to AI for answers, you're going to AI for questions. On my website, you'll be able to see there's a whole bunch of resources there about that. But that, for me, this concept moved forward. So this idea of a human and a robot talking about the topic. There's a topic at hand. My example was World War One, the causes of World War One, and so that student and the AI are kind of having this dialogue about this particular topic. Well, I progressed this idea to the point where, what about if the topic wasn't about this kind of topic we're learning? What about the conversation was actually about the assignment a student was writing about? And so I've been able to design a platform that helps students justify and defend the ideas, concepts, and vocabulary about their submitted assignment. So they can go off and do an assignment outside of class, but they know when they come back and submit that assignment on the due date, they're now going to have this Socratic conversation with a chatbot about their assignment. They have to defend their ideas, defend their understanding, and explain their understanding about what they've submitted. So if they do use AI a lot in their assignment, this is their moment to actually show, oh, actually, I've still learned through that process and I've actually demonstrated what the understanding. Or I've just cognitively outsourced my thinking to a robot, and I actually don't know anything about this assignment. And this idea, the Socratic dialogue about the assignment, highlights this to the teacher. So I'm going to really quickly show you what this platform looks like, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. So the platform is called Thinking Mode. You can go to it. It's called thinkingmode.com. And we're really, as we're moving into the AI era, we're really helping teachers make sure that kids stay in thinking mode. They need to make sure that they're thinking themselves. They can't consistently outsource their thinking to a robot. They need humans for us to be able to stretch in all of our parts of our body. If I want to get stronger, I need to have resistance. I need challenge for my muscles to get stronger. And it's the same with our cognition. If we keep delegating from a young age our cognition to a robot, we are going to get very weak humans. It's not a good thing. And so thinking mode is helping teachers keep students thinking in the AI era. So let me just show you one feature that I'm kind of leading up to it. And we call it defense mode. We have multiple modes on our platform, but defense mode is this idea that a student uploads their assignment to our platform, and then they need to defend what they know. How much do you understand about what you submit? So let me just quickly show you what this looks like in practice. I wish I could give you a live demo, but we just don't have enough time. So here's just a quick click through. So it's very simple. You just come to our platform called thinkingmode.com, as a teacher, you design a task in our platform, and then all you do is give your students, your class full of students, a code, and then they get take that code and do this activity. So let me show you how it looks. So here's the code that the teacher has created. Students don't need to sign in; they just put the code in. Then they just put their first name in. We don't want lots of student data. Here's where they get to upload their assignment. So the very first thing, they put their name in, they read some instructions, and they upload their assignment. Our platform kind of pulls all the information from the assignment, checks it to make sure that there's no personal information, makes sure that the assignment is on topic, and make sure that the kid hasn't sworn too much. We don't want too much swearing going to the AI model. And then what happens is the AI now, it's a very simple check. The AI will ask 7 questions, adaptive questions based on the assignment. And so that AI reads the assignment that the student uploads, and now a student's going to have to answer these questions based on what they know. And so this example was a very kind of technical scientific report. And the first question is, can you define the term multi-leaf kilometer? Like, I don't know what that is. I'm not a physics teacher. I don't know what this is. And so a student now has to show that was in their assignment. Now they have to show that they know something about it. And so if a student gets stuck, the cool thing about AI, this generative AI, is it's adaptive. It's really easy for the AI to kind of go, oh, you don't know that? Let me rephrase it. Or how about this? Or how about that? Oh, that was a very shallow explanation. Let's go a little bit deeper. And so this is very, very adaptive to help students along. We don't want to kind of gotcha students. We don't want to say, "Hey, I'm going to catch you cheating." This is really to give the students an opportunity the best opportunity to show that they have done the thinking for themselves. And so but this is the key. I was doing this in my class for a long time with ChatGPT, and the problem is the moment it gets too hard, students just go to another tab, go to another version of ChatGPT, paste the question in to another ChatGPT, get the answer, and paste it back to the original bot. And so in the end, you just get these two robots talking to each other, question answer, question answer, question answer. And the human, all they have to do is pass the question and answers to the robots. Humans not doing any thinking. And that was very frustrating when I was doing it. And when it wasn't even to do with assignments, I was doing it with that kind of this idea of Socratic dialogue. And so I wanted something to be built where students had to be within the assessment environment. They couldn't easily just get out and find the answer. And so this platform, Thinking Mode, is built around a lockdown browser tab. It's not an install. Students don't need to install anything else on their laptop. It just when they go to our platform, if they leave the assessment window, they get locked out. And the teacher actually has to manually let them back into the assessment environment. And then they can't paste answers really quickly back into our platform. It doesn't let you paste. And so students have to sit there in class actually showing that they know something about their assignments. They can't just outsource their thinking really quickly. And so as a teacher, once the students finished all their questions, as a teacher, here's kind of an example of what you get. You get a really quick, with the AI kind of evaluates the whole conversation. And then based on their 7 questions, the AI kind of categorizes each question and response. So here, four answers were good. 2 answers were just basic, and 1 is just limited. They basically couldn't answer the question, or they just got it totally wrong. And so that's for each student. You can go through, read the question, read their response, and you get a little justification from the AI why it's categorized each question the way it has. And then as a class, you get this kind of snapshot. Here's my class, and you can get a snapshot of how well each student has been able to demonstrate their thinking. So this idea really takes the idea of viva voce, this kind of one-to-one conversation with students that's very hard to scale across big classes. We use generative AI to automate the facilitation of the conversations so that the teacher doesn't have to spend all their time having these conversations. They can very quickly get a snapshot of, are these assignments I'm getting from students actually the student's own thinking? Or is it that some students, like this James and John here, they just couldn't show that they actually knew enough about their assignment, So maybe James and John's have to actually resubmit something they can explain. Maybe James and John has to go off and actually learn more, maybe with or without AI, so they actually can get through this defense successfully before the teacher actually grades the work. That really speeds up a teacher. They're not wasting their time trying to detect AI, proving that a kid's used AI. There's no proof that the kid has used AI. It's just clear evidence that the student, when asked 7 questions, can actually explain something that they have actually written. It's a very straightforward process. So that's the platform. And so if I'm not sure how we're looking for time, but I'm very happy to answer any questions. But feel free to contact me. The best way to contact me is through LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you just find me on LinkedIn, you can find me. Or I'm happy for anyone who's involved in this in this conference today. If you go to thinkingmode.com and sign up, I'm happy to, if you sign up with a kind of educational email, so from a university or from a school, I'm happy for you to have a free trial. If you, especially if you sign up soon, I'll be able to kind of let you straight in. If you use your personal email, especially if you're outside of Australia, I probably won't be able to do that yet. But if you use an educational organization email, then there's more chance I'll be able to let you have a free trial. But thank you so much. But yeah, I've got a little bit of time for questions.
Hi, Adrian. I really appreciate your talk. I'm back. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
We were talking about this before. It's really very important what you've done. And it's just very practical, right? I mean, this is what we need urgently. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right now. So there haven't been any questions. I don't know if anyone else has any. But as Adrian said, I mean, it's I'm sure you guys can get in touch afterwards. You know, try this out. I'll have to try it out myself. My daughter gets a little bit older. She's not smaller yet. So really, I thank you as much for your patience at the beginning.
That's fine.
And thank you so much. And we'll definitely talk soon.
Great. Thank you, Angeline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.